problem. Ooh, I beg to differ. Every single race, every color, every country has problems.
Mm-hmm.
So it wouldn't be fair to say they're the only issue.
Mm-hmm.
When are we going to turn the accountability towards ourselves and say, what can we do to change?
Mm-hmm.
How can we affect our future?
Mm-hmm.
We give all our power to the enemy, as some people say,
Mm-hmm.
because we refuse to accept any responsibility. And it doesn't mean that we say it's our fault. No.
Hi guys, welcome to Kenganda. My name is Janita and this is the Repart podcast. Now we listened to you guys. Well, Oshe did. He listened. We had you guys. You said you wanted to see Mark. So we had Mark come on the podcast. Please introduce yourself.
Okay. My name is Mark. I came to Tanzania 3 years ago when I was 19 and I've been there ever since.
Okay. You're welcome to Uganda.
Thank you. I love it.
Oshe?
I don't know what I'm supposed to say. Y'all already know me.
Yeah.
So just glad to be here and give Mark a round of applause. Mark Meets Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so today we're going to talk about, me and Mark talk frequently on the phone coming up to this trip. And there are so many topics that we can just run in and I forget to write them down because, you do all the talking for the most part because you don't let nobody get no words in.
Sometimes.
But you came to Tanzania in 2020. That's when I started watching your videos. I was here in Uganda during COVID. And there was a big mass migration to Tanzania during the time that you went. Why was that the case?
You'll hear a few different stories. A lot of people say it's because of Magufuli.
Mm-hmm.
So they had a president. He's dead now, unfortunately. But a lot of people like the policy he put in place.
Okay.
He didn't require anybody to have a vaccine.
Okay.
He wasn't really with the whole world program at the time. So people were coming for that reason.
Okay.
And then I think they were seeing a few YouTubers who were going to Tanzania.
Okay. You were going to go to Gambia first, actually, right?
Yeah. Ghana, and then the Gambia, and then Kenya, and then Tanzania.
So let's before we get into the Tanzania piece, you were going to go to Ghana and you changed your mind. Why?
I saw they did a 2019 year of return.
Yes.
And then I figured maybe there's a lot more of us over there. And I said, it wouldn't feel African enough. And so I looked at the Gambia because I saw a video and it said it was the smiling coast of Africa. Me, I like to smile, so I figured I'd fit in.
Yeah.
And then while I was booking my ticket, they closed their borders. So I had to pick a place. I looked at Kenya.
Okay.
Because I knew Kenya. Some said look to the east. Then I said Kenya seems a little too westernized. And underneath was Tanzania. And I'd never heard of Tanzania, so I chose Tanzania.
You chose Tanzania?
Yeah.
Okay. So once you got to Tanzania, this is like 2020, right?
Mm-hmm.
What was the environment amongst the African-American diaspora or the African-American community relocating to Tanzania? What was it like at that point?
Oof. I couldn't tell you in 2020 because honestly, when I went there, I didn't really know about the whole diaspora movement.
Okay.
Yeah, I went there and I lived with the people. I learned the language. I learned the culture.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I lived amongst them. I didn't get around diaspora for the first maybe 6 to 9 months I was in Tanzania.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what happened once you started interacting with the diaspora within 6 to 9 months?
Ooh-wee. That story. I'd say things took a slightly more negative turn.
Okay.
I started realizing our people have a few more issues than I knew.
Okay.
And those issues bled over onto me. So
what were those issues?
I want to say typical Black people issues, but more specifically, we're having problems adapting to the new environment. A lot of people couldn't adapt to Tanzania.
Okay.
They didn't know how to speak the language or they weren't on their way to learning. They lived in places where they were being overcharged.
Okay.
Some of them weren't making any money. It was all sorts of things. So I think I got around them and eventually their negativity kind of spread to me. But I also wanted to work with them. I started something called Merge.
Okay.
And the whole goal, it's a company that's designed to help people when they come here. So,
Okay. So
because
shout
I
out.
wasn't having the issues they were having. I'm sorry to continue.
Okay.
So I didn't understand how they could be having the issues. And then I started learning more about why they were having the issues.
Okay. What was some of the reasons besides typical black people problems that they were having issues with?
Some of them had issues with each other, funny enough.
Okay.
We have a lot of Hebrew Israelites in Tanzania.
Okay.
I don't know if there's still a lot. I think there is, but because a lot of people left. But at the time, there were so many of us coming, and a lot of them were picking Hebrew Israelite.
Mm-hmm.
And they were coming over, and they were getting together. They were loving on each other. They were having barbecues, hanging out, having fun.
Mm-hmm.
And then it all stopped. And I suppose there's different stories for why, but I think it was because somebody wanted to be in control of this. Somebody wanted to be in control instead of that person. Somebody had a different idea of what God's name was. And so somebody else, started a different sector of the same thing, and it fell apart. And then they said something like the FBI infiltrated them, which, yeah, it got real confusing and messy.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you mean the FBI? Could you expound on that?
To be honest with you, I don't know too much about it myself. I'm only saying from what I heard. It sounds to me, when I look back on it and when I ask people about it, that there were groups of people and they had their beliefs.
Okay.
And they had maybe WhatsApp groups, and then an FBI infiltrated their WhatsApp group, and the group disbanded, and people became suspicious of each other.
Okay.
And they stopped hanging out.
Okay.
I'm
now,
sure there's more to it.
more to it. Okay.
Yeah,
This is
but-
what you suspect.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was told.
Okay. Now, outside of these Hebrew Israelite communities, and I know there are very many different sections of Hebrew Israelites, not just all some don't even like Africans, from what I understand. Some do. What about the other people who were not associated with the Hebrew Israelites? Because you have some people that atheists. Some people are Christian. What about these other groups of people who are not, in the Hebrew Israelite community?
Are you asking how they were doing?
Yes.
I'd say it's about the same. We typically, as a people, have this problem when we go overseas where we don't stick together.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what happened in Tanzania. We went over, nobody really got together. We may have had WhatsApp groups and maybe we hang out every few days, but we didn't move as a group. And so we were taken advantage of as a community. Prices went up for us. People started realizing they could take advantage of African Americans, specifically African Americans, though it was really every ancestral diaspora, Caribbean islanders.
Black British.
Black British. So all of us were getting taken advantage of, or them at the time, because I wasn't in the loop until later. I had to catch up because I wasn't in any group chats. When I found out what was going on, it was already like everyone was against each other.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's why it's hard for me to say exactly what happened because I wasn't in it. Yeah.
Now,
I was able to avoid most of the issues they had at first.
how did you avoid the issues they had at first?
I learned the language. I lived with the people. I learned the culture. Something that most of them wouldn't do or couldn't do or didn't know how to.
How did you do it?
I lived with them.
How did you start living with them?
I remember I left the airport and went across the street to some ghetto.
Okay.
And I said, this is where I'll stay. And it was nice. It wasn't like what most people would think Africa would be like. And I had a great experience.
So wait a minute. You get off the plane and you just go and say,
Take
what?
me over there.
So wait a minute. When you came to Tanzania, you didn't know where you're going to stay.
I'd say no. Looking back on it, no. It was a quick
That wasn't so
decision.
smart, was it? I mean, like for the average person to just be like,
Yeah.
I imagine me coming to Uganda and I would say, across this place here at Entebbe, I'm going to just stay over here. I would never do that. So you had no idea where you would live or anything. What did your parents think? You just got out of high school.
I had a little bit of an idea. And I lived alone in America too.
You lived alone in America at 19.
Yeah. Probably at 18.
Oh, shit.
How come?
I think I'm just an independent person looking back on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just I like doing stuff on my own.
Okay.
Yeah. I didn't necessarily have any issues with people. I didn't even leave America because I had problems with America. I know a lot of us coming over here to Africa, we typically leave because we hate police brutality,
Yeah.
racism, white supremacy. there's usually a negative reason why we're leaving. We're leaving something bad.
Mm.
And so we come here under the mentality of, I'm only here because I didn't like that place and you look like me. Sometimes that rubs the people the wrong way. Yeah, a lot of us came to Africa because we didn't like America.
Okay.
Or we didn't like the UK.
Okay.
Or we didn't like Europe.
Okay.
And I believe that was the first mistake a lot of us made.
Okay.
Was that we left in hatred. We
Okay.
didn't leave because we wanted to love and reconnect with our roots purely for that reason.
Okay.
And so because we left and we kind of sort of had bitterness in our heart, anger,
Yeah.
frustration, valid frustration, but frustration nonetheless, it didn't make it easy to be in a new place.
Okay. Let me kind of go back to moving into some community of people you don't know,
Mm-hmm.
and you pick this place. You have your belongings, you have your things there.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel that like your stuff's gonna get stolen? Like, how do you feel what's gonna happen to you
Where?
in Tanzania?
Where I lived at first?
Yes.
Mhm.
No. For some reason it didn't bother me.
Okay.
I don't know if it's just that I didn't adapt a lot of the fear our people had coming. I think there's always the fear of the unknown when going to a new place, right?
Okay.
But I don't think I was one of the people that thought, and this is something I'm finding out now,
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't think this was a mentality. Some people legitimately think when you get out of the airport, you're going to be in a grass jungle. That wasn't even on my mind, because I said, you know what? An airplane with the capacity and capability to take you halfway around the world
Mhm.
usually costs around this much.
Right.
It has to be maintained.
Mhm.
There's standards for that sort
Yes.
of thing, which means you need an airport to house it.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if the airline says blank airline, Ethiopian Airlines.
Mm-hmm.
It's Africa.
Mhm.
So I looked at that and I said, well, if there's an airport large enough and with the affordability to have a plane like this, then there has to be a city with the capability
Mhm.
of needing that.
Mhm.
And so in my mind, I just knew I was going to a city.
Okay.
It wasn't like going to the grocery store. I tell people that it was like going to the grocery store, but it didn't feel like I was going to be in the middle of nowhere. I knew there were people with sense
Yeah.
and people without sense. I say you can't have a country with 56 million people and everybody's a thief
Yeah.
and everybody's a liar.
Mhm.
People are dropping dead on the street and
Yeah.
nobody can eat the food on the street because it's so toxic and all the water will kill you. I said, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be a country.
Yeah.
That'd be a humanitarian crisis.
Yeah.
So I knew I wasn't going there. I knew there would be a little bit of a difference though.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know how big of a difference. But as soon as I got off the plane and looked around, even as I was landing, I said, oh, this looks like any other city.
Mm.
Maybe not like Vegas. It didn't look like Vegas. I'm from Vegas,
Mhm.
Yeah.
born and raised. But
I just have I want to take you all the way back. How did you manage to get money to come? Because it's not cheap flying to
Yeah.
Africa.
at the time, it was. Believe it or not, prices for airplane tickets now,
Is it because of
they
COVID?
tripled the
Oh.
price. I think when I got on that plane, it was, I don't remember how much it was. I know it wasn't anywhere near how much it is now.
Mhm. It was cheaper.
It was much cheaper.
Okay.
Yeah, at that time it was much cheaper, and that was more expensive than what it was just the year before.
Okay. Okay. Let me kind of go back to the we'll talk about the treatment of these people that you were living with at some point.
Mhm.
But now, the diasporan people that were coming over, African Americans, Caribbeans, British people, they're kind of running in one community. I would believe it's the same situation that is here in Uganda. Mostly, like we were hanging out last night, we were hanging out with some black British
Yeah,
Ugandans.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you had other people. That one guy was from like New York. He was a Caribbean American. I'm an African American. We're all kind of hanging out and having some conversations, things like that. How are these groups merging? Shout out to your company. How are they merging to try to do things? Because there were some positive things happening at first, right?
Yeah, and there still are.
Still are. Okay.
I'm not gonna throw away the whole movement and say we messed up completely.
Okay.
We did some good things.
Okay.
We're doing some decent things.
Such as what?
I'd say there's still some sense of community. right?
Okay.
There's still a little bit of hanging out. And I'm not a person to hang out. I don't like using the term, but I can't think of a better one right now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we still get together. There used to be pop-up shops every week.
Okay.
You know what that is? People would come and sell their goods.
Mhm.
The issue is they were selling their goods to people who didn't have a reoccurring income.
Okay.
So people that were going broke were selling to other people
Who were going
broke.
Okay.
And it wasn't sustainable, so it didn't last long.
Okay.
I'd say what we didn't do right as a community is get together and create an industry that, like if everybody came together and said, we're going to build a grocery store and we'll live off of the dividends from that grocery store and it'll be ours.
Right.
That's not what we did. We split and went 30 different directions. I know brothers and sisters that came with $20, $30, $40, $50,000 gone, scammed, cheated, lied to, lost it, didn't know how to do it, didn't know that there was a procedure to doing business in Africa that was different than in America, or hadn't done business in America, so really didn't know how to do it over here. And so we moved it so inefficiently that we ended up looking bad, and we still look bad to this day. They have jokes about us in Tanzania.
What are those jokes?
Well, I'll give you the premise.
Yeah.
That we are, and I don't want to say it because I'm not trying to,
Yeah, we know this is not all people there.
Not trying to generalize.
This isn't to generalize everyone, but I've heard it in taxis and things like. I had a taxi driver. He was drunk. I was in Zanzibar.
Okay.
And I'm riding down the sidewalk with my bike, and he stumbles. He's like, "Oh, you Black Americans!" I guess I was talking, and he says, "Get in my car." I'm a taxi driver. He was drunk.
A drunk taxi driver.
A drunk taxi driver.
That's interesting.
Yeah, well, I don't think he was driving, but he was. A lot of people sit and drink.
Okay.
That's common here too. But it's really common over there.
Okay.
And so he's drunk, and he says something that caught my ear as I was riding away from him. He says, "I can protect you from George Floyd." I turned around, I said, "What the heck?" And then the thought process that followed after that was how many African Americans got in this man's taxi and for the 30, 40, 50-minute trip complained to him about every issue we have in America. See, we don't keep things in the house. And I guess it's not really doing us a favor putting it on YouTube, but this is the only format our people look
to reach
at.
it,
So this is how we reach our people.
Yeah.
But we come here to various African countries and we complain about everything in America. We make ourselves look bad because they're not going to understand that. When you say, "Oh, they're killing us and America's so corrupt and lying and cheating and stealing," but you had the ability to get on an airplane that they can't afford, wearing clothes they can't afford, with a phone they can't afford, and a job that allowed you to do that they could never find. And you get off that plane and complain about the place you came from, you look entitled and ungrateful. That's how they see us. That's the joke in Tanzania, is that we are some ignorant people.
Okay.
Because we think we have it the worst. Police brutality? You want to see police brutality? Come to Africa. They'll knock you out, and then you go to court, and then you'll get knocked out in the courtroom because you don't sue police.
If you get to the courtroom.
If you get
no
there.
one ever sues the police.
Yeah.
So what are you talking about? There's a problem in America. There's a problem everywhere in the world.
Right.
We get so hurt that we want everyone to see our issue that we forget about theirs.
The
thing that differentiated me between a lot of the people coming over is I made an attempt to understand the plight of the Tanzanians. So I put my energy into that. Not saying I forgot about my people. I love my people.
Yeah.
But I also believe we're all one people.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, we got to kind of sort of back up on telling everybody our business.
Right.
This happened in America.
Right.
This happens in America. These things are terrible. These things, because they're hearing this, and a lot of them, yes, some of them might care, but most of them don't.
They don't care.
I've been in taxis with people who I pick up from the airport because, they're coming and they don't know where to go or something like that, or they just want to meet. And they'll be sitting in that taxi 45 minutes down the street the whole time. And you know what? You know why you shouldn't come to America? You know why you should? You know what I mean?
The
whole time.
Yeah.
And the taxi driver's like, because he's
paid.
You know what he said? I had this happen twice in different ways, but I'm paraphrasing. You know what this man said?
What?
At the end of that 45-minute ride, he says, "I want you to help me get to America." So I said, you know what? That tells me something.
Yeah.
They don't care or they don't know. They have no concept to what you're describing, especially in these countries where people have no exposure.
Right.
YouTube is new to some people.
Yeah.
So you really don't know what's out there.
Right.
And you haven't seen anybody from out there come here.
Right.
African Americans are new to Tanzania. They just started realizing and meeting us just 4, 5, 6, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
If even that.
Well, some of us were coming over in the 70s, like, like
Yeah, but in mass numbers,
not mass
no.
numbers like
Yeah.
this, like now, yeah. It's
Yeah,
true.
they don't know us.
Yeah.
And so when you walk down the street, and I have people do this, I used to have it all the time. It's in some of my videos.
Yeah.
I know there's one where somebody walks up as I'm recording. He has gray hair, but he has dreads. He had to be Tanzanian. And he says, "What's up, my nigga?" Because in their mind, that is a term of endearment.
Yes.
And how can you be mad at them? Our people get mad at them. I've seen it.
Yeah.
Because they don't know. You can't be mad at them for not knowing.
Not knowing.
Our culture showed
Right.
them that it was a positive thing.
A positive
They're like
thing.
kids looking at it. When you see that something negative is
Yes.
associated with a positive thing, then you're
Right.
going to assume that thing is positive, especially if you have no concept of it.
Correct.
So our people did that. We came and we made ourselves look ignorant,
Okay.
got taken advantage of,
Yes.
got most of our hearts broken and left.
Let me also talk about this because in line with being a sitting duck. What about African American entitlement in Tanzania? Now I hear that that happens in Ghana. I don't know if I'm so entitled here in Uganda because we don't have so many in this community, but the sample size in Dar es Salaam, I think you guys maybe have the second biggest diaspora outside of Ghana. I think Ghana first, Dar es Salaam is second, Gambia is third.
That would make sense.
So is there African American entitlement there? And do you think the locals also feel that?
That's a complicated one. The
Why?
short answer is yes.
Mhm.
That exists everywhere. American entitlement.
Yeah, yes.
Anywhere you go, there's some level of entitlement.
Okay.
And especially if you come from a place that is perceived to be greater than the place you're going.
Okay.
The
Okay.
African's argument is usually, if your country's so great, why did you come here?
Right.
And it's a good argument.
Right.
But stepping back into the question, that entitlement exists with Africans, with Americans, whatever. I think it leaves a especially bitter taste in Africans' mouths because we look like them.
Okay.
So they know some of our issues. And when we come with that entitlement, it really rubs them the wrong way. I can't say that for everyone, but I've heard it from them.
Give me an example of African American entitlement in Tanzania. Hold on. Story time music.
I had a situation where I think I told you this story, but
Okay.
I'll say it again. It might have been somebody here. I said
Mhm.
it was a woman. I was showing her a house. She was like 50 something,
Okay.
late 50s. And I normally don't show people houses, but she reached out and I was showing her some places. Her budget was, I don't want to say, it was low. And so
Can I guess?
Yeah,
$100.
close. Yeah,
Okay.
pretty much.
Okay.
And you
A
can
house?
find places for that cheap. You know you can.
In Tanzania?
You can find them for that cheap in Uganda.
No.
Yeah,
No.
a room.
In Uganda?
Yeah,
No.
I can find a place that cheap.
$100?
I knew places in Tanzania you could rent for $17 a month.
$17 a month.
It's how you look. It's where you look. She
Okay.
nodding because she knows. In
But
Uganda, you can
who's
find
nodding?
a place for that price too.
Is it true, Rachel?
Okay, you can, but like the area you find that place is just.
But it exists, right?
It exists.
It
Hold on.
does.
Let him finish the story and then we're going to let Rachel. Go ahead.
Okay. But it exists.
It exists.
To make the long story short,
Yes.
we saw a few places, 3 places, and then, she was getting kind of frustrated with each place because she wanted a place with furniture,
Okay.
right? Fully furnished or somewhat furnished,
Mhm.
refrigerator, that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
You get to the third house and then she just, I don't know, she breaks down or something, but she says, how come these, and I won't curse, but she said a derogatory term, how come they ain't got no refrigerator in this house?
Mm.
And, I had to kind of sort of step in and say, for your budget, that's not normal.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just one of those things where you look at that person and say, you coming with barely anything,
Right.
right? Even to the locals,
Yes.
they'd have to pay more for a place with a refrigerator
Yes.
if they even wanted it.
Right.
And then you get frustrated instead of trying to understand. A lot
Right.
of our people, because of our trauma, because of our hurt, because of our issues, right? I'm making an explanation, not an excuse.
Mm-hmm.
But because of those things, we typically react harshly.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people in the world don't know or can't really get with how we react because
Mhm.
how we react is not how an East African reacts. They're very timid,
Mm.
very passive aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
We are aggressive to some of them.
Yeah.
And sometimes that is not well received, especially in societies that aren't built around that. We're not accepted in a lot of places because of our mentality.
Okay.
What are we going to do? Call it racism? because they're doing it to we go into stores and in places and we get treated, a little bit worse than maybe white people, right? We know that a lot of Africa has an issue with self-love.
Okay.
And that's me putting it nicely.
Yes.
We know that's an issue. With our people, it manifests in a different way, but it's the same thing. We don't treat each other right, right? We wouldn't flip out on a white person. We wouldn't flip out on a Chinese. We wouldn't flip out on anyone else, but we'll do it to each other, African or diaspora. And I could go into the story about the guy that literally came to my business and flipped out on me because I didn't want to pay a black tax.
Explain that.
Okay. Y'all want me to keep going?
Yes, please.
Okay. Story time music.
Okay, yeah. I had a brother from DC.
Okay.
47 years old. Washington, DC. He has a similar business to me in Tanzania.
Okay.
The only problem is the mentality. You can't stop saying the N-word.
Okay.
You came halfway across the world. You still got the same traumatized mentality that got you to where you are now. And he came to my business, cursed me out, right? Tried to extort me out of money because black people need to pay a tax to do business. Like he was running something. And that's putting it short. That's a long story. I showed you the video.
Yeah, I saw the video.
That's that person. That mentality, halfway across the world. We look bad. And the reason our people are going to continue to suffer is because when we come and we go to new places, we don't move as a group. We're not organized. We're arrogant sometimes, right? Sometimes it's not our fault. We don't notice it. But regardless, the result is the same, right? In the eyes of the people who are perceiving us. And then we have all these issues that nobody wants to deal with, not even our own people. I ain't never seen a person act like that in my life. I've never seen a person behave in such an immature manner at 47 years old. But I saw it with my people. So when we come and we say, white people are the problem, I beg to differ. Every single race, every color, every country has problems. So it wouldn't be fair to say they're the only issue. When are we going to turn the accountability towards ourselves and say, what can we do to change? How can we affect our future? We give all our power to the enemy, as some people say, because we refuse to accept any responsibility. And it doesn't mean that we say it's our fault. No. Responsibility says your fault or my fault, I have to deal with it. I have to do something to build my people, my community, and my life. So when we sit back and continue to rob, cheat, steal, lie, kill, go across the seas, treat each other like crap, and then we say the white man's fault, we look crazy to every person that we encounter. And we can keep arguing with ourselves all we want and say, no, that's just culture and that's history. We still look crazy to people.
Okay.
Most people don't perceive us right. I've had people tell me, you black Americans are crazy.
Okay.
Africans. Can you imagine that?
No, I believe it. They're probably going to be in the comment section.
Yeah, some of them. And they're not wrong. I don't believe it's our place to put each other down. By any means, no. But I also don't believe it's our place to hide our issues from each other. We have to be honest. Hiding it and saying, oh, there's no issue in our, because we see that a lot in Africa. I will say the good thing about the ancestral diaspora is we are a little more honest with our problems. But a lot of Africans, I will notice things about them too. And I'm not going to lie about what I see. Some of them won't admit there's a problem. I've been in places and they have nothing good to say about the government. But the moment you say something about that road or about something negative that happened to you, this is my country. And, they get patriotic. So how can we do it too in a different way. You defend things that don't serve you. And we think that Africa, Tanzania, Uganda, Kenya, Congo, these are countries that were made by the people that colonized you. Being proud of that is a ridiculous phenomenon. It makes us look even dumber. This is why we have no respect in the world, because we take pride in things that not only aren't ours, but don't help us. Our people have continued for 60 years in Africa, most of these countries, 60 years, adapting an identity that is not theirs. I'm proud to be a Tanzanian. I'm so proud to be a Kenyan. I'm so proud to be an American. Doesn't that sound like that? And America's full of problems. Kenya's full of problems. I'm just saying, our people got a lot. We have an identity crisis in our community.
Okay.
That's what it is. I'm gonna wipe my nose.
Now we're talking before behind the scenes, and I said you've achieved so much for a 22-year-old, but you said you could do more, but you've been set back, and you told me some of those setbacks. Do you mind telling us the setbacks on camera?
Ooh, yeah. Ooh,
Yeah.
I could tell you. I could make a whole 3-hour video about setbacks.
Summarize them.
I'll say the positive and the negative, starting with
Please.
the negative, because
Yeah.
there's a value in both.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing I'm learning. But the setbacks that really kind of sort of affected me were at first. Oof.
It's okay.
I mean, saying the exact situations might put some people on the spot. One
don't-
of
you
them
don't
was
have
the
to say
brother I
their
told you
names.
about.
Yeah. Okay.
That one set me back 6 months
Why?
because he wanted to extort us. He made it an issue. He started, trying to drag our name through the mud.
Mm-hmm.
And our people followed that
Mm-hmm.
until he got over on them too.
Okay.
And then they're like, oh, wait. I said, you could see him from a mile away. Sometimes I look around and I say, am I the only one seeing this?
Mhm.
I've had so many moments like that in Tanzania and other countries, but mostly Tanzania, where I'm looking around saying, do y'all not see this? African Americans, Afro-Caribbean. Sometimes I'm like, are we just not looking?
Mm-hmm.
I've had that setback. I had a woman, she was 50 something. She was dating my gardener no, I won't even say my gardener. She had a problem that she made my gardener. He was 20 something.
Yeah.
She's 50. That's a passport.
Sis.
Sis, yeah. I was gonna use the word that rhymes with bros. Because here's the thing though.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's a sad phenomenon to see elderly people coming over here acting like that. I'm so incredibly disappointed in my own people, and I have a right to be because I'm black.
Right.
So I have a right to have a standard for my community, even if I'm the only one that imposes that standard.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I keep that standard to myself, I have it. And I'm so disappointed with what I see.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not the authority for blackness, no. But I can still be disappointed.
Let me ask you this. I know that's common also in Gambia. A lot of older black women coming to Gambia. I've even heard it in Ghana.
Yeah.
Sleeping with younger men.
They do it. Yeah.
Is it very common in Tanzania?
It's extremely common. And it's not just black people. See,
Oh,
white people have been
too.
doing this for longer than we've been coming to Africa.
Okay.
It's a thing people do when they travel. Most people travel for sex. Let's be
tourism.
honest. And it's
okay.
not sex tourism. Here's the thing. Here's the twist. Sex tourism is very specific. It's even a crime in some places.
Yeah.
Okay.
The workaround is people travel for leisure. People travel for tourism. While they're on this leisure and tourism, they hook up, right?
Okay.
All the people on the beach and everybody knows what's going on. I just found out about this stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm starting to really realize how their mind works. Because I wasn't doing any of this when I came over there.
Yeah.
I was just trying to do the whole empower our people sort of thing. And then I
Okay.
stepped into what was actually going on and I said, that's what's going on. Our people are doing this. We're acting up. And it's not to say that we're the only ones acting up, but can we focus on anyone else? No. We have to look at what we're doing. Our people are acting up. We getting into these ridiculous relationships.
Okay.
Right? You got the men coming over, sleeping with everything that walks. You got the women coming over, getting these weird relationship dynamics going on. You can't make an African man your boy
Yeah.
because he's not designed to be that.
Yeah, we got to
So
do a
when you
whole
come,
podcast
you
on
got
that.
you got an extra little bit of money and you hold that over his head. This woman did that to the man who was working for me.
Yeah.
Right? He didn't start out working for me. He was beating the mess out of her. He was 20, she was 50 something. He was beating the mess out of her. So she asked me, could I give him a job at my community center?
So he would.
He was messing her up.
Okay. We don't
And
want to tell
so-
them too much on this one because we want to do a whole full podcast on
Yeah,
that.
we could do it, but
Yeah.
but that's I don't get it. And some people will actually get offended at that truth. What am I doing? Lying? No, everybody in that community knows what happened to that woman.
Okay.
The
Is she still
problem
there?
is, I don't think so. I know she had issues with her passport. A lot of them came over and just illegally stayed because they ran out of money.
Let's talk about this whole thing. And I know illegal stays work.
Indians do it too.
Yeah.
A lot of them.
But I know there was a Swahili
Chinese
school.
will do it.
I heard there was a Swahili school that would allow you to get visas in Tanzania.
That was fake, man.
That was fake.
It was
Was it a
not
scam?
legal.
Or was it
There's
not?
There's something called Fumba Town too. At one point, they were telling people that if you invest in Fumba you can have citizenship. That wasn't even true. Only for people to do it and then ask for their citizenship, and they say no, that's not real. The Fumba was real, but the
citizenship after
that offer wasn't real.
Yeah,
the same thing with that Swahili school. I don't exactly know. I know it got messy.
Sure,
but I do know that wasn't right.
Yeah,
They actually cut it off. They changed laws because of that.
Right.
Because we did that. And do you know what that made us look like?
Look pretty bad.
Really bad.
Wait, let me ask one more thing, because now you are able to still stay there and do well. You've been there for 3 years, so it's legally.
Yeah.
How
no, O'Shea, I'm illegal.
Yeah,
that's how I got across this border.
Yeah,
I was able to get on the airplane.
Joking.
Exactly. So how is it that you've been able to support yourself and still grow and be 22 and some people I'm assuming are coming over, maybe even college graduates. Some of them have master's degrees, things like that, and they can't survive, but you can.
I'm not a religious man, but I believe in God, and that's nothing but God. Because
Okay.
I look at that too, O'Shea. I'm not immune to looking back and saying, now, how did I make it and they didn't? And I can say, I did this differently than them, and I learned this and they didn't, and I adapted in this way and they didn't. But realistically speaking, we were all kind of in the same boat. Nobody knew what they were getting into, not one person. I think, some of it was how quickly you could adapt. I'll give myself that credit and say I adapted quickly. Whatever situation came, I was like, okay, let me think my way around this.
Give me an example.
Like, for instance, I had a building.
Sure.
And it was the first plan for the community center.
Okay.
And I had gotten it under contract with the seller who was Tanzanian. And I ended up, I was traveling, but something had happened while we were renovating it where he started complaining about something. I won't specify because it was a little bit of a legal thing too. And, his tone and attitude was really, really questionable. It was like he was, I don't know how to put it. Maybe you can add, it's a thing people do. I want to show you, like you got to learn. And I'm like, I think because I'm young, a lot of people feel, like I'm going to teach him a lesson or something.
Okay.
And sometimes it's not something I did.
Very paternalistic in a way.
Yeah. And I didn't know he was doing it until my lawyer told me that's how some people there are. And I think that's how our people are too. That's what the 47-year-old did when he came to my business. He didn't like the fact that a young person was doing something similar.
Okay.
Though I was doing it longer than him. So he didn't like that. And I didn't know people, and this is going to sound ignorant on my part, I didn't know people could do that. Because I would never look at O'Shea and say, he's more successful than me. What can I do to bring this brother down? I don't do that. So I didn't know people like that existed. Or at least I knew they existed. I didn't experience them full on.
Until you came here.
Until I came here.
Okay.
And that was when I saw it right in my face. And I said, woo, I never had issues with my people in America. Never had issues with my family. Never had issues with my neighbors. Never had issues with police. Never had issues.
Nothing.
Came here. All sorts of issues. I said, what the... Am I in a sitcom?
Right.
I started looking around. That's why I started saying, am I the only one seeing this mess?
Yes.
People were treating it like it was normal. And somebody explained to me that's the life they're used to. I said, they're used to this in America? They said, yeah, they live a nonsensical life there. And so when they see it here, it's just something they take as, oh, this is just life. And for me, I'm like, are y'all joking? I'm sitting in an office and this man is saying, hey, you got to give me a laptop if you want this to go through. And I'm like laughing like, oh, that was a good joke.
You serious?
He did. I'm looking at him like, is something wrong
It's a
with you?
Tanzanian person or?
Yeah. He got fired and arrested. But yeah.
Okay, let me kind of talk about this because I know that you have a consultancy called Merge that deals with
I will say it's not so much a consultancy, but we do that as well.
Okay. What is it then?
Can I say the website?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
It's africanmerge.com. And we mostly deal with people who are coming over. And
Yes.
we kind of sort of want to be and this is where it gets a little tricky. We want to be the force that guides people when they get here. Because again, all that we went through, O'Shea, I know you've been through a lot in Uganda. A lot of that happens in Tanzania.
Sure.
We've talked. And I'm like, that sounds like Tanzania.
Yeah.
And I say it a lot because I've talked to people in Ghana. That sounds like Tanzania. I've talked to people in Gambia.
Yeah.
They're describing their problems. I said, that
Same
sounds
thing.
like Tanzania.
Okay.
I talked to people in South Africa. Less, I don't hear it that much, but I've heard it once.
Yeah.
That sounds like Tanzania.
The
issue is universal. There are things that do not work. What can we do to stop those things from affecting us? Merge wants to be your wall.
Okay.
It wants to be your protection. It wants to be your guide. It wants to be whatever you need because we need that.
Okay.
See, if we move as a group, they respect us. They don't respect individuals. Africa doesn't operate on that. It operates on connections. It operates on who do you know? What can you do for me?
Right.
You know, what can happen to me if I do something to you? We don't have that.
Yeah.
Because we come, we're individuals. We don't like each other. We don't want to get around each other.
Okay.
Whatever.
So let me kind of go to that because I know Jonita has a
consultation company. Actually.
consult, and the reason why I'm saying is because I get we met this guy last night. Shout out to the brother. Got the guy's name. He's like, yeah, man, I messaged you on Kinganda like 4 months, and I'm very clear. Don't message me. I even came into the Kinganda repack group yesterday.
Yeah. It was a mess going on. But our WhatsApp group, you should be ashamed.
It's I came in, there was an issue or something like that. One of the guys actually inboxed me. So I'm not even the admin there.
Yeah.
I told the guy, listen, anybody you guys message me in this group, I'm kicking you out the group. Don't message me.
Yeah.
It's not just, me being mean or anything, but it's just that I don't want to be dealing with people like, hey, I'm moving here to Uganda. I need help. I cannot, because you know what? I talk to so many people who do tours. I won't mention their names. Big YouTubers that do tours. They always say they're not going to do it anymore because of the problems they have, right? So now you doing the things with the consultations, people coming here, you have to meet them. How is that experience dealing with, I would assume some of them are like extreme headaches. So I can never see myself in that business. The podcast is all they would get from me.
I could see what you mean when you say headaches. I do.
Yes.
Again, keep in mind.
And not wanting to pay too, I'm pretty sure they never want to pay.
Yeah.
Oh, I made a video about that.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay,
I
we'll talk
wasn't
about that
harsh.
too.
One thing that differentiates me from a lot of people, I think, is how I approach certain problems.
Oh.
I try my best not to be too harsh. Because at the end of the day, you could say, well, they're just sensitive, but they are. So, and this is with anything, whether you make memes on YouTube or whether you make content that's offensive, or whether you make content that's true or this or this. It's the fact that this society, not just America, the world has become more sensitive.
Yeah.
So you have to compensate for that in some way. You can say, okay, F y'all, I'm going to be insensitive to you and then get the reaction that they give you. Or you could try to at least work around them a little. And I'm not saying it'll always work because sometimes it won't. I've been fortunate enough that it's worked. I haven't had too many big issues. I had one lady try to call me a spy like 2.5 years ago. I had 721 people, 740 something people attack her like on her messages. And that was because I had built enough of a rapport with the people.
Wait, you didn't tell them to do that.
No,
they just did it.
They just, I was getting screenshots. One lady called this woman a B word.
Whoa.
Yeah. And I don't know if she made a video on her Instagram or something like, I don't know. Because I'm not in any loop. I'm not in any group chats. I'm not in any of that.
Right.
I don't have time for it. And I'm not always sure what's going on. I don't get some of the references we use as pop culture. I didn't grow up with that stuff. Music references, movie references. I don't get it to this day.
Okay.
Not all of it, but I'm getting into it, but I don't get it. So a lot of it goes way over my head.
Right.
So I might as well just stay away from it.
Right.
And I'm starting to see that that's a good thing. Before I think, I need to catch up and figure out what everybody's talking about.
Yeah.
It's a good thing because some of the stuff they talk about, like when you said that group chat, the WhatsApp group
group
should be ashamed of themselves.
Yeah, they
These
should.
are elderly people.
Yes.
And I'm saying elderly as in you are an adult, 30, 40, 50, 60, you're an elder, as in you are not a child.
Yes.
And you have the mentality to behave in such a manner that is
childish.
immature. That to me surprised me the most. I suppose, again, I'm not used to dealing with, maybe I just didn't deal with people that much in the States. As friendly as I was and as many people as I like to talk to, I didn't hang out around people.
Yeah.
I started hanging out around people on a personal level when I got to Africa. I didn't need to in America. I was doing my thing, didn't need to be around people. I had friends, but I didn't want to be around them because people my age were ridiculous. Some of the stuff they found funny, some of the stuff that they found interesting, I didn't get it. Still don't get it. Sports and music and all this stuff. And I'm not knocking anyone that likes that because you're different. That's all. Doesn't mean you're right. Doesn't mean you're wrong. Doesn't mean I'm right. Doesn't mean I'm wrong. You're just different, you know? And I guess I'm getting out of the point. What was the question? Was there a question?
He was asking the people you've dealt with your company.
Problematic.
Yeah. I've been fortunate enough not to have terrible people. I've had moments that I look back on and I realize they were not so good moments. But in the moment, sometimes I won't notice it.
Okay.
Like somebody will have an issue, but because they didn't communicate it to me, I won't know. Some stuff, I got a lot on my mind. All of us do. And sometimes I pace around in circles a lot. Is what I do. I'm thinking. So somebody will have an issue and not say it. And then I'll be like, what? And I'll find out weeks later, or I'll think about it. I'll say, oh, yep, that makes sense. I've had people in terms of like relationships, some diaspora. Some of them weren't like American. Some of them were like Africans that left and came back. These little, they call them nappy head little girls, but I'll be nice and say our beautiful sisters. Some of them came over and they're looking to be in some sort of relationship and I didn't know. So
with you?
Yes.
How old were they?
They were about my age. Some of them were much older than me, but that's not unnatural for wherever people go. People do that everywhere.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm not trying to put our sister down at all.
But is it a lot of going on?
That's the thing, O'Shea.
It's a lot of diasporas.
I couldn't tell you on a personal level, but I could tell you in regards to in general that happened.
Yeah,
right?
I can.
And I think that's what's happened. I think a lot of our problems come from the fact that a lot of us are coming over here sexually frustrated, emotionally frustrated. Some sort of physical need is not being met, whether that's with your health, the food you're eating, the lifestyle you've lived, the financial situation you're in. That stuff affects us and it's subconscious. So we come over here and we actually still behave like it's affecting us. That's why so many people come over here and they can't close their legs or they can't stop doing what they do because they have an emotional need that's not being met. Some of them are looking for love. Some of them are just lustful. Some of them got to get it out of their system. But a lot of people are coming because they lack something they couldn't get in America.
And they come out here and then it's just
they get it because Africa's an open.
Yeah.
You can get it here. Apparently, it's not even hard. And is it wrong that they want it? No, not at all. That's not the issue. The issue is a lot of us are coming over and we say we're going to do something and we don't do it.
Okay. Do something like what?
Like I had a lot of people at one point that I used to deal with.
Yeah.
When people reached out to me, they knew I was about business. They knew, hey, if I'm going to talk to Mark, we got to be talking about Black empowerment or unity or how are we going to make a better future for our people? Because they knew that's what I did. And they knew I wouldn't tolerate being around somebody that wanted to be, silly at the time.
Okay.
Now I'm a little bit. But at the time, I was really in it to a fault almost.
What changed, though? Your perception?
I think I just, I don't knock people just because they think differently than me.
Yeah.
I think difference doesn't make you wrong or right. Your truth is your truth, I mean, the only right decision is the one you make. I can't make your decision because I don't know what's good for you.
Okay.
If I can have that respect and push that towards people, I'd like the same respect. The problem in our community and in the world in general is that people have gotten out of their ability to allow someone to be different than them. Now, if you don't agree with me, you're the devil. That's what it is in America. If you're a Democrat and I'm a Republican, we hate each other. If you like red and I like blue, we hate each other. If you're from this street and I'm from this street, we hate each other. If you're this and I'm that, we hate each other. We can't come to a middle ground anymore because if you're not me, I don't like you. That sounds like pride, which is a demon. Pride is what's dividing this world. We don't want to allow somebody else to think differently than us because we think our way is better. That's why when we come to Africa, most of us get shown ourselves. We have the choice to either accept and not agree with, but accept that there's a difference when we come to Africa.
Yeah.
Or we can impose our ways and get spit out. Because you're not going to change Africa. One person, no. Enough of us, of course. But one person, you might affect a few people in your neighborhood if they look at you and see you as a good example to follow.
True.
But nobody on earth wants you to cram anything down their throat.
Yep.
That's the problem with that. And I don't want to be controversial, but that LGBTQ stuff, I think most people don't even have a problem with the fact that they sleep around with, who, whatever. It's the fact that you're forcing it on people.
Yeah.
Because I say the same thing about Christian. I give the same level of criticism to that movement as I do to
Religious
religion.
movement. Yeah.
Because it's fair. I have to be fair and balanced. That's what I built my image on, is that no matter how upset I get, and I've had my moments where I've gotten very upset, and I have to bring myself back in and say, am I still going to be fair? Am I still going to be balanced? Am I still going to be honest? Because the truth is not left. It's not right. It's right here. It's in the middle.
Yeah.
So if I can say this is wrong because of this, and can't I say this is wrong because of this? What's going on in Africa? Missionaries, what do? They force it down your throat. How's that any different than Uganda saying no more LGBTQ?
Right.
Why don't you say no more missionaries forcing us to be Christian and Muslim? And this Africa doesn't have enough of an identity. You don't see white missionaries going to Arabic countries trying to make them Christian because they know those people have stood in what they believe in.
Right.
So when Africa develops a belief system for itself and a system of operating, people will stop trying to impose their will on Africa. If Africa wants people to leave them alone and let them do what they do, they need to stand strong and say, this is who we are, this is what we do. Not be ambiguous and say, well, you know what, you can come and we'll decide when you get here in an attempt to bring people. Because some of that is greed. That's the reason a lot of these countries allow some of this stuff to happen, because of greed. I saw a video that said Singapore and Nigeria. Singapore has been free for 62 years. Nigeria has been free 64 years, or reverse those numbers, but about the same. Look at Singapore, look at Nigeria.
Yeah, Nigeria is 1960, October the 1st. Yeah, 63 years.
63 years. But think about it. Nigeria didn't grow and it has all the resources in the world. Singapore is an island nation with no resources, and it's the third largest per capita economy in the world. Why? Because the mentality of the people allowed them to develop and didn't allow them to develop.
Yep.
But we will still make the excuse, colonization. They were colonized too.
Yeah.
In fact, most of the world was colonized. Look at India. They had a famine that killed, 2 million people because the British needed food for the war.
Yep.
Or something like that. They don't go and complain about their history every time they get the chance. They change things and they prove them wrong.
Yeah.
See, we are the ones we're sitting in our own mess, splashing around saying they did us wrong. We know they did us wrong. I use the analogy of a snake. I was telling you this off camera, but I say, when a snake bites you, it's doing what it was designed to do. If white people were designed to treat us like that, then that's who they are.
Yeah.
You can't be mad at the snake for biting you. It was made to bite you. You just happen to be standing too close.
Yep.
So we look crazy running around saying, that thing bit me. That thing bit me. You have to apologize. No, you better get away from it.
Yeah.
And put a sign saying there's snakes in this grass.
Yeah.
Our people want some sort of retribution. That's not going to work.
No.
You got to find a place that makes you happy and be there.
Yeah.
Because you can't be in a new place and have that much hatred, that much bitterness, that much anger, that much pain in your heart and expect to succeed.
Yeah.
It's not going to work. That's why our people aren't growing when they come to Africa, because we still haven't let go of our past. I mean, there's more to it than that.
Yeah.
But
Well, that's well said. And I feel like that's the perfect way to end this episode, unless to share something to add on.
It was
really good, but we're going to
was-
have more of this.
It was great. I mean, guys, what did you guys think? I mean, I knew he was going to swing the bat,
But he swung.
pretty successful here. And he did just that. So we have another one that we're going to do. Hopefully, guys, I had to pay him some good money to come. So
yeah, O'Shea took care of me, y'all. I don't know what some people are, and I'll just say this for the camera.
Yeah.
Some people are saying stay away from O'Shea. They said the same thing about Austin.
Yeah.
And I just say this for the record. I don't believe in putting people off until they've shown themselves to me. People have different beliefs and different ways of doing things, but that doesn't, again, make them wrong or right.
Yeah.
I'm not a person that says, I don't like you because of this. No, you are an a-hole, so I don't like you. That's why I'm going to not like you, because you treated me wrong. But I'm not going to hear what she said about him. And maybe she's right. And it depends on what is said. But usually if it's like just an ideology thing, I have no issue with you. Because in my mind, I'm not right and you're not wrong.
Yeah.
Just let me be me and I'll let you be you.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of these people don't like me. That watch it. I even saw a comment. There was a
like you in
nigga.
Kinganda.
They were saying good things about you on my channel.
Some guy on your I won't mention the guy's name. He's like, yeah, you need to do some things here on the channel. I don't watch anymore because of O'Shea.
What is that?
Some guy,
sad.
I mean, and this is interesting, what people say about me. And I'm the one that's here, that's doing this stuff every day. But it's okay. I mean, like, I really, I mean, I just, you still gonna watch anyway. But again, I do thank him for being open to coming, and I thank you for at least supporting us enough so we can bring more of our brothers to come in. And this is the only, I think we're the only people that have a podcast based on this topic, right? In the world. Like
on what topic?
repatriation as a podcast.
Oh, I think so. Well, I haven't seen any.
Yeah,
I don't look around too much, y'all.
So we're doing something that has not been done yet. So I thank you. Any last words to your new subscribers you're going to be getting?
I just appreciate being here. I'm happy I got to see Uganda. I've been thinking about Uganda for a minute.
Yeah.
And you know, made that happen and took care of me while I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm telling y'all.
I'm not going to take care of y'all though.
Yeah.
But I tell people like, man, don't really be saying that because be like, oh man, O'Shea, like one brother, ain't gonna mention his name. Shout out to talk to the brother. I'm gonna say his name, right? Brother Kyle. You know Kyle from the Pen Every Day show.
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, man. So I heard you host people, you know, when they come to Africa, you know. You gonna host me too? I'm like, he gonna go to Kenya though.
Yeah.
So I was like, brother. But he's a good guy. He always supports us though. But if you come to Uganda, I'll help you out. But yeah, guys, I'm hosting every month. In fact, I have another brother here from Philadelphia just came in today.
Yeah.
And so I can't host all of you brothers and sisters. Yeah. But
it gets too much.
Yeah, it's really hard to do this. But we do thank you for supporting, subscribing. And we'll go to the next one. Peace.